Hello everyone, welcome to cse111 course. I'm Shuli Roy, lecturer of CSE Department, Brack University. So today's topic is Introduction to Methods and Designing a Whole Class. Let's start. Last lecture you have learned about concept of class and object, constructor of a class, and also you have learned about parameterized constructor and default constructor and some attributes, right? So today we'll learn about introduction to methods, designing class with methods and variables, and creating objects. Creating objects with constructor. So you have already learned about constructor. This one is a default constructor and this one is a parameterized constructor, and this is non-parameterized and this one is parameterized constructor. So I'm going to define a class first. Class animal. This is my class name. So now I can write a constructor, but that doesn't mean if I don't write it, it will not work because there is already a default constructor here. If I write any constructor by myself, then it will follow my constructor. Otherwise, it will follow the default constructor of the animal class. So I am writing a non-parameterized constructor first. So how I can write that? I can write that like a method. First, I will write def and then 2 underscore and then init 2 underscore. Then here I need to write self. Self means I'm just trying to store the location of the object that I will create after this class. So in my default constructor in my default constructor I want to print something, just like I want to print this is a constructor. So this one is my default constructor and I don't want to have anything in my animal class. So let's just create an object of animal. How to write an object of animal? First, I need to write the object name, just like I am going to the name object1, obj1, then equal sign, and then the class name. So my class name is animal, so I will write animal, and I need to check in the constructor whether they receive any other parameter or not. If there is another parameter just like self comma name, then I need to mention here this one. So as there is no parameter other than self, I just can write this one empty parenthesis, and this is how my object one is created. So let's run this code. See, when the object is created, it's automatically run the constructor, and inside the constructor, I have printed this is a constructor. So you can see this is a constructor. I hope it's clear for you. What about if I write a class that will have parameter, just like if I write class dog. So I'm writing a class dog. Inside the class, I want to write a constructor that will have parameter, just like init. Okay, this let's say self. I need must write self, and then the other parameters I can write like ID number. There can be ID number of a dog, right? So inside this, I want to print the ID number as well. So I can write directly ID number here. It will obviously print the ID number that I will send while creating the object. But if I do so, if I have another method here, just like if I write another method like def show, which will show the ID value, like print ID number, it will give me an error because ID number is not defined in this class. So how can I define this ID number? How can I save this ID number inside my class? I can just write self dot ID number. You can write anything here. This name can be different, and I'm just writing the same name for your understanding. So ID number equal this one. So I will just write ID number. It will point out this one, and self.id number is actually the ID number of the particular object that I will create. So you need to write self.id number equal ID number, because you have to save the ID number inside your object. So to save that, you just need to write self.id number. If you don't write it, it won't be saved. And here it will not recognize the variable. So to recognize it, you just need to set the ID number here and then print it in the show method. So let's create an object of dog and try to print the show method. So to do that, I will just create an object. How to create an object? It's like obj2. This is my second object for class name will be dog. But now I can't write the empty parenthesis because I have a parameter inside my constructor. So I need to give something to here, something so that it can be stored in the ID number variable. So I am sending one. So it will this one will be stored here as a ID number. So now if I want to call the method show, I just need to write obj2 first the object name and then the method show. And as I have not given any other parameter inside this show method, I will not write anything here. I will just write a empty parenthesis, and let's check what it prints. See, for the first object, it's printing this is a constructor. It's non-parameterized constructor. And then I have created another class dog, and obj2 is the object of this dog. So this will, for creating this object, it will automatically run this constructor and it will print this is dog class 1. See, this is dog class 1. And then after that, I have called a method obj2.show. It will show me the ID number. If you want to check whether if I don't write this one, whether it will work or not, see, it will show me dog object has no attribute ID number. Okay, if I don't write self, it will also give me error. So this ID number is only recognized in this scope, not outside this scope. To recognize it, I just need to save it here, just like self.id number, and then call this variable by writing like this. Okay, I method part, instance methods. There are difference between class methods and instance method. We'll learn about instance methods. So instance methods are functions that are defined inside a class and can only be called from an instance of that class. Just like here, description is instance method, and this one is just like a function, but this is inside doc class. So if you want to access this method, you just need to create a instance of doc. So miles is instance of doc, and then you just need to call this method using this object name miles dot description. This is how you can call method inside a class. So just like init and instance methods, first parameter is always self. So here, just like init, we always need to write self. Here in instance method, I just need to mention the parameter as self as well. So when defining a method, it will follow the same naming conventions like variable naming conventions, just like def description will follow, just like this is a method name, right? So this name will always follow the convention of variable naming convention. So let's see some example. So just like this doc class, I have given a method which is show. So how did I write the method? First, I need to write def, and then the method name following the naming convention. And inside the parameter, I must write self or any other, and also I can add to any other variables as I wish, but self is a must. So I need to write this one. And this is called non-parameterized instance method. If I want to have some parameters, just like I just need to write another method, I can write method by following the same indentation, def, method 2. So in method 2, I must write self first and then other variables, just like I can take the dog name as my variable, as my parameter, as many times as I want, just like dog name, then dog color. And these are my parameterized method. So inside this method, what I can do is I can print the dog color and the dog name. So I can just print right like that. Color of dog name is dog color. So I hope you have already noticed that I forgot to follow the naming convention. Variable name should start with small letters. So I need to write small letter here and also here. After that, if I want to call method 2, how can I call that? Just like obj2.show, I just need to write obj2 dot method 2. And as you have seen, as you can see, dog name and dog color is the parameter for method 2. You need to mention these things in your method 2 calling. So dog name can be Tony and dog color can be red. So let's see what prints. See, color of Tony is red. Printing like that. So I hope you have understood the non-parameterized and parameterized method. What if I want to write a method that will return something? So to do that, I just like to need to write def method 3. It can be parameterized or non-parameterized as you wish. First, I am showing you the non-parameterized method. Just like def method 3 self, then it will just return hi. Okay. And in case of parameterized fruitful method, I just need to write method 4 and then I must write self and then I can just write the same. I can take the same parameter as my method 4 parameter and then I can return the whole string just like method 2. So to do that, I just need to format this because if I write this one directly, if I write this one directly here, it will just return these things as list to where I will call this method. So to avoid this one, like firstly, I want to show you how it actually returns. So in case of returning a function, I need to, sorry, I need to store the values, right, that they will return. So I can just write is equal obj2 dot method 3. As it's non-parameterized, I don't need to write here anything. So I can just call that. And after that, I can print s to see what I have stored from this method. See, it's showing me hi. So instead of storing this in a variable, I can directly store, directly print the whole method here because I am expecting in the print function, this object will return me something and this will be printed. So let's see if it works or not. See, it's working. It's also printing hi. What about if I want to print obj2 dot method 4? So inside the parameter, I just need to mention the dog name and the dog color. So I want to mention Don, comma, the dog color black. So cell, see, you can, it's showing the color of Dawn is black. But I don't want it to show like this. I want to show this one like this. Color of Dawn is red, but it's showing me just like a list, right? To solve this problem, you can just write if here and then here dog name and dog color are variables, right? So you just need to point that like a curly bracket. It will show you the value. Just see. Now color of tone is black. It's showing the perfect sentence, right? So how to write it? This is actually string formatting. To do that, you just need to write if first, and then inside this colon, you can format the string just like color of dog name. As I am writing this dog name inside a curly bracket, that means this is a variable and it will show the value of the variable, not the whole thing. So now if I want to use some just like ID number, I want to change the ID number in any method. I can do that just like here. I have I can take another parameter just like dog ID. It will give me another ID and I will just store this ID in my existing ID number. So what I can do is first I need to take the parameter and then self dot ID number equal dog ID. This is how I can also change the instance variable. It's not necessary that you need to call this method to change the variable. You can also directly access this variable and change it. But if you want to do that, you can do like this. Now, if I want to print the dog ID, so I just need to write ID of dog name is dog ID. So instead of writing just Dawn and Black, I need to write ID number just like 12. So sorry, this can be integer or there is no data type default, right? You can send anything here. And see, now this is dog plus 1. Color of Tony is red. Hi. ID of Dawn is 12. Now see, if I want to call this show method again, what will it show? The previous ID or the changed ID? Let's see. See, it's showing the changed ID because self is accessing the address of my obj2. So whenever I am changing anything in obj2 object, it will change the whole self, like self class, self. So the color of Tony is red, high, ID of Tony is 12, and also writing this show method is showing 12. So first it was showing me 1 and then it's showing me 12 because I have changed the value here. So you can be assured that if you are trying to access any method and inside the method you are trying to change any attribute, it will be changed for the whole obj2 object, not other object. This will just apply for obj2 object. If I want to just if I want to create another object here just like obj1 equal same dog 2. So and if I want to print obj1 dot sorry show, it will show me the existing ID, not any updated ID. So let's check. Sorry, it should be obj1. So see, this is dog class 1, this is dog class 2. For the dog class 2, it's showing me 2. obj1 dot show, it's showing me 2. And again, after changing the value of object 2, when I am trying to print object 1, it's showing me the same value. That means object 1 and object 2 doesn't depend on each other. Okay, so